Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Easy English Bible Study Podcast. My name is David Gray, and together we're going to read the Bible, and I will make some comments in easy to understand English. Okay, let's get started. Hello again. Well, today is the podcast for the second Sunday of Easter. The second Sunday of Easter, and our reading today is from the Gospel of John, chapter 20, verses 19 to 31. The Gospel of John, chapter 20, verses 19 to 31. Okay, let's get started. Let's start then, verse 19. On the evening of that first day of the week, when the disciples were together, with the doors locked for fear of the Jewish leaders, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." After he said this, he showed them his hands and side. The disciples were overjoyed when they saw the Lord. Well, here we are. This is after Jesus had died on the cross, and they have not seen Jesus. Mary Magdalene has seen Jesus, but not the disciples, and now he appears to them. It's interesting because the doors are locked, but Jesus can enter even though the doors are locked. So, on the one hand, he can come through the walls, which is kind of like a ghost, right? But on the other hand, they could touch him and, they could touch his wounds, they could touch the injuries, his hands and his side. And they were overjoyed. Oh, they must have been so happy and so relieved. They were hiding from the Jewish leaders. They were scared that if they were captured or caught by the Jewish leaders, maybe they would be killed too. Let's look at verse 21. Again, Jesus said, "Peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, I am sending you." So again, Jesus says, "Peace be with you." Jesus could be angry at them, right? They scattered, they ran away from Jesus. Peter denied him 3 times, and yet Jesus does not come with anger. He comes with peace. And he says, "I am sending you." He's going to send them out to preach the good news about, well, so many things, including that Jesus is alive again. Verse 22, and with that he breathed on them and said, "Receive the Holy Spirit. If you forgive anyone's sins, their sins are forgiven. If you do not forgive them, they are not forgiven." To be honest, I'm not sure what this means, but we know that one, the Holy Spirit is mentioned here. And we know that in Pentecost, which is coming later, they will receive the Holy Spirit more fully. But here, he's giving them the Holy Spirit. Also, obviously, they will be able to forgive sins just like Jesus was forgiving sins. And so if people want to receive the forgiveness of sins, they can. If they reject the forgiveness of sins, they can reject it as well. Verse 24. Now Thomas, also known as Didymus, one of the 12, was not with the disciples when Jesus came. So Thomas was not there when Jesus came. Verse 25. So the other disciples told him, "We have seen the Lord." But he said to them, "Unless I see the nail marks in his hands, and put my finger where the nails were, and put my hand into his side, I will not believe." Wow, that's pretty stubborn. He's very stubborn, I would say. He not only does he want to see Jesus, he wants to touch where the nails were. He wants to put his hands on Jesus' side, where you'll remember they put a spear on Jesus' side and blood came out. So those major injuries. I will not believe unless I touch those places. So, verse 26. A week later, his disciples were in the house again, and Thomas was with them. Though the doors were locked, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." Then he said to Thomas, "Put your finger here. See my hands. Reach out your hand and put it into my side. Stop doubting and believe." It's interesting that Jesus knew what Thomas wanted, right? Jesus was not in the room when Thomas said, "Unless I touch his side, unless I touch where the nails were on his hands, I will not believe." But of course, Jesus knew what Thomas said because he is the Son of God. So Jesus lets him do that, which is very gracious of him. It's very nice of Jesus to do that. And what does Thomas say? Verse 28. Thomas said to him, "My Lord and my God." Verse 29. Then Jesus told him, "Because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed." So that's you and me, right? We have not seen Jesus like that. We cannot touch his hands and his side. And Jesus says, "Blessed are we, happy are we who have not seen but believe, who have faith, who have faith." It's interesting that Thomas said, "My Lord and my God." Thomas calls him Lord and God. Jesus does not say, "No, no, no, I'm not God." Jesus accepts this. So that's one of the reasons, one of the Bible verses, that's one of the Bible verses that we read and we see that Jesus is both man and God. Next, let's look at verse 30. Jesus performed many other signs in the presence of his disciples, which are not recorded in this book. But these are written that you may believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name. That's the end of the reading for this Sunday. Well, what was your takeaway? What did you learn from this Bible reading? What was meaningful for you? For me, it was about Thomas. Well, actually, two things. One, that Jesus said, "Peace be with you," 3 times, which I'm guessing is shalom, the Jewish greeting, a normal greeting. It's a normal greeting, but it's interesting that Jesus says it 3 times to them. Jesus brings peace. And also, I thought, it is interesting, isn't it, that Thomas demanded proof. He needed to touch. And that's a normal human thing. And yet Jesus says, stop doubting and believe. And he also says, blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed. So I said this before, but I'll say it again. For me, that was really powerful because you and I, we cannot touch Jesus like Thomas did. And so Jesus says to us, we are blessed that even though we can't touch Jesus' side and his hands, even though we can't have physical proof that Jesus resurrected from the dead, that he's alive again, we are so blessed to, even though we have not seen, we believe. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed. Okay. So blessed are you and me for having faith. That's the end of the reading for today. Like I said, if you are interested in contacting me, you can contact me through by email, easyenglishbiblestudy@gmail.com, easyenglishbiblestudy@gmail.com. It would be nice to hear from you and to hear, is this podcast helpful for you? What do you like about it? Is there anything that maybe could be better? I would love to hear from you. I would love to have an email from you. Thank you so much for listening. God bless you.